A good dull is simply a good discovery, and a good discovery means having a current situation and a future situation and being able to pull on them through Socratic dialogue and the 80-20 rule. Now listen, Tony here is selling an upsell ticket through dialogue, which is an extremely high leverage and highly skilled task to do. And he's upselling people within an e-commerce community for a live in-person event. This is going to be one of the most informational videos you'll see about dialing, so listen up.
Okay, so in terms of what you're doing right now, is like the biggest bottleneck just scaling, or is there any other like problems you're kind of facing?
Yeah, it's usually scaling and creating like what you call the really good feed.
Okay, for sure. So it sounds like it's kind of like most of your focus right now going on how you can scale the business and actually build that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, got it. So we do also have features like
Moved on way too quickly there. Way too
yeah,
quickly. You need to probe into that. That is going to be his main pain point, right? Everyone attending these businesses are simply what they're going to want to get out of, sorry, attending these events. They're simply going to want to get out of it the ability to scale, the ability to make more money, the ability to make connections that will improve their business, right? And you'll want to sell them on that pain point specifically because you're doing upsells right now. So, I mean,
yeah.
you want to be digging into that pain the very most, like his inability to scale. For discovery in a normal dial where you're just appointment setting, you can get away with moving on with this, but you're doing upsells now and you need to get to what we talked about yesterday, that core layer of the onion, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, if we even just role play that now, bro, he said he needs to scale and you moved on with, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then you moved on way too quickly. Let's role play that literally just right now. Because we did this yesterday, so you should be really good at it. What was it? Struggling to scale. That's what you said. As you'll know, bro, just start spamming. What do you mean by that? For you, when you're approaching these goals, you should be approaching it as like a blank piece of paper. Like it's
Yeah.
obvious to you what it means struggling to scale, right? You in your head, you know him as an econ business owner. Struggling to scale means he's struggling to either get a better ROAS or he's struggling to just simply get more revenue. He's struggling with finding good products. You already know that, but you want to treat these goals as a blank piece of paper because you haven't got that. The way you're going to build urgency is by, hold on, let me connect this charger. The way you're going to build urgency is simply by getting him to have an emotional pull on what his pain is, right? And the way you do that is by him saying it out loud, because in his head, he knows it's obvious what his problems are, but you really want to get to the root of it by him saying it. And when he says
Mhm.
how much how much he's struggling with, actually being able to scale, maybe how bad his ROAS is at the moment, in his head, he's going to be building urgency for him to act now. Whereas if you just move
Yeah.
on from that, you have absolutely zero pain to build off when you start future pacing. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Um,
Okay.
when someone says struggling to scale, I will just spam, what do you mean by that? Because like I said, you want to be a blank piece of paper. What do you mean by that? I have I have really bad ROAS. Where would you go from here?
Okay, so how long has this been the case for you? How long
There
have
we
you
go.
been
Yeah, adding
struggling
timeline is
with
super
that?
powerful because that's what's going to end up in his head, make him realize it. I need to take action now because you can always hit him with a cost of inaction at the end of the call, right? You can use that
Yeah.
as a reference point. If he says he's been struggling with ROAS for the last 5 months, you can obviously, after a really good current situation and then maybe a good future pace, and he's still not keen, that's going to be your big reference point for the cost of inaction or the objection handle for the upsell, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I have really bad ROAS. That's a great question. How long have you been struggling with this? You can say 4 months. What are you saying after here?
Okay, so what have you already tried to fix your ROAS?
Boom. What have you tried to fix? And you're going to notice that we're going to be slowly going down the path because what you're selling is obviously an increase of knowledge in theory. These events that you're upselling people on calls for, they're simply going there to A, make connections, but B, sorry, increase their knowledge for whatever field they're in.
Mhm.
And you got to make him realize now that whatever he's tried hasn't worked. And when you cost him an action it, you can almost hit him with the fact that, what's the point of banging on the same drum that hasn't been working for the last 4 months? Where do you see yourself in 4 months' time if you haven't been able to fix that? Oh, same
Mhm.
struggling ROAS. How would you feel knowing that you had the opportunity to actually get exposed to knowledge on how to fix that, but you decided not to? Oh yeah, I feel
Mhm.
pretty shit. What do you feel like you need to do now in order to actually start having an understanding of how you can build ROAS, maybe make connections with XYZ? I need to actually take action. Boom. You've got that urgency simply by adding timelines and by gathering as much context as you can use for when you actually start to pitch him, because it's going to be very difficult for you on these dials to build rapport, to reframe people's beliefs. The best way you're going to be able to close these people on a dial is by simply building as much urgency as possible. Because this guy definitely has the money. He definitely has the money, right? If he's interested in these sort of events and he's followed up with whatever lead magnet is. But yeah,
Yeah.
no ramble there. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
So
Do you know who Rowan is? Rowan Chef.
See, and on this part would have been good to bring in after all of
cool.
that.
So he's actually scaled businesses. Have you heard of Tony Robbins or Dean Graziosi?
It's just
Yeah, so
conviction.
he scaled like their offers and their
yeah, tonality is off here, but also you're doing too much push marketing. You're pushing onto him, right? Remember, people don't buy because they're being told something. People buy because they convince themselves through your Socratic dialogue, right? Of why they should improve their situation. They have to convince themselves. You can't be just throwing value at him. You can do that a little bit in the pitch, but obviously you're going to tailor your pitch then to all of these problems that we've gone through the discovery. But if you have zero reference point from the discovery, it's going to be impossible to pitch him, especially on something as difficult as an upsell on the dial.
businesses before. It's up to like 7-8 figure companies. So I'm sure you'll be able to get some knowledge off of him. That'll be super valuable.
See, bro, you're just telling him. You're
Yeah, I
speaking
know.
to him at the moment. Don't be pushing, be pulling.
And we have changed our format this year. So I'm not sure. Did you hear much about it last year?
No, I did not. This year is the first time.
Oh, really? Okay. So yeah, this year we're currently doing smaller roundtables so that you can.
Once again, you're pushing. Ask him, what do you know about what's going on with the event this year? Fill in the gaps if you have to, but get him to convince himself, right? Because he's followed up on this lead magnet, so he's definitely going to know something about it. So instead of you telling him whatever, jargon about roundtables, let him tell you like what he found really interesting, why he's even on this call in the first place.
And he interacts with the speakers and really understands. Oh, ask the specific questions you're probably looking for. That's the most value, isn't it? But you can also get those answers.
Or you're assuming that's the
Yeah,
most
no.
value. Yeah. The reason why this call was cooked and you'll absolutely never close this prospect is because, first of all, you're not following the 80-20 rule. You're not letting him speak 80% of the time, right? I'd arguably say you've spoken the most in this 4-minute part of the call. And B, you're throwing things at him. This guy just picked up the phone. God knows where he is. He's probably like filling his car with petrol or some shit, right? He's not going to have the time of day to start listening to some random guy that just called in that he's never talked to before. The only way you're going to actually get these people's attention is by letting them speak, and through Socratic dialogue, getting them to pull on their own pain, their own reasons why they should attend this. You can't tell people why.
Just personally from them. So
Okay, that's cool.
See, bro, like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
bro, like this is the most smokescreen, non-emotional answer ever. Like, this guy's just sort of like probably doing something on his laptop. Oh yeah, that's sick. I'm curious though to see if you developed on that. What do you mean? Once again, spam the what do you means, bro. What do you mean by cool? What specifically about that is cool? Oh, I really like the fact that XYZ person is attending. Okay, and how come would that be really valuable that XYZ person is attended? Because XYZ person has so much knowledge on the X, Y, and Z industry, and he's able to do X, Y, and Z. Oh, cool. Understanding the knowledge that X, Y, and Z has garnered over the course of the last few years, what would that help you be able to implement within your own business? Oh, I'd be able to fix my romance, right? And now he's literally pitched himself the reason for what this example here would be. He's literally pitched himself for why he should come. Bro, this is so easy. Like when you just realize that all it is just asking very, very basic questions instead of trying to do the Jordan Belfort pitch to them at every moment.
yeah,
I really think like for you, whatever script you have, script should not be looked at as, because scripts only exist because dialers aren't high level. You want to be the top 1% dialer and you want to be a high level dialer. Realistically, you shouldn't even really need a script. You should simply just know, because it's very easy pulling on a current situation and pulling on a future pace, right? Current situation is simply the pain, the problems they're in at the moment. The future is the goal, the ambitions they have, what they want, and then bridging the gap with whatever you're selling, right? You don't really need a script to especially when you're upselling people. Because a script will usually be for when you're booking people in and you need to give information to closers, right? But you're not booking anyone in. You're trying to upsell them on tickets, for example.
that all makes sense in terms of like scaling your econ business right now, and I understand where you want to go with that.
Yeah, it's like I've just
Answer it,
pitched
I mean,
everything. I know,
if you were
to be
going
honest,
for
I'm
this
just going to
event,
follow
I'd
the
also
script
be
too
kind of
much.
like,
Yeah, bro. Don't get what's the word? Don't get shiny object syndrome with the script. Like, don't treat it as a checklist you have to follow. Following the script is much more important if you're booking someone in for an actual call, because obviously you're going to want to give information to the closer. You're going to want to know if this guy's qualified. You're not going to want to waste his closers or the offer holder's time. At this moment in time on this call, you know this is a very qualified prospect because you're only dialing qualified prospects. You also know you're going to try sell them on this call. So it's important, like we've said, to get them to convince themselves why they should attend this. Also, one thing you haven't asked here is because this is an in-person call. I don't know if you asked this later, but you should ask this like pretty much at the very beginning of the call, like where he's based at, right? Building that rapport at the beginning instead of going straight into that question you asked, which was what made you want to like reach out. Just gathering information if this guy's even qualified. Because if this guy lives in, he obviously doesn't, he's got an American accent or Canadian accent, but if he lives in like Rome, right, he's obviously going to be very unlikely to be attending this event in Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
About
So you're
building
just going to end up wasting time. You could just end the call right there if you realize he's unqualified and dial the better prospect.
the network and getting your name out, or are you kind of looking just to sign more clients or make deals in the room?
It's just like an irrelevant question.
100% it'd be networking
Yeah.
and also just meeting with people that are doing better.
Bro,
than
but
you and
that's
also-
actually, I disagree. I don't think that's an irrelevant question. That's just a question you should have asked earlier.
Yeah.
That's probably like one of your better questions, to be honest. You're basically asking what he's looking to get. But this is all in the
Yeah,
current
no.
situation. This should be done at the start.
or like gaining knowledge from them, just conversating.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Does that go for like
Yeah.
all industries for people?
Yeah, just being in the same room as those people.
No, for sure. And I mean, the when Slash puts together these rooms of people, it's even more dialed in this
It's
year.
just me going back to
We've
this
got
script.
over 300 people, where we've got 88% like decision makers, founders, people of actual like high value. And that's
Yeah,
what we
once
always
again,
say.
you're just destroying your frame by using filler words like. This guy's a high level business owner and a very educated prospect. He wants to know that you're someone of that same caliber, and he's only going to be able to pull on what he's hearing, and what he's hearing right now is vastly uncertain language.
Yeah.
Like these events, the most important part of it are the people you actually get in the room with you. It's like, it would be useful.
That's so clear to me while I'm
bunch of
going
people
wrong now.
who went off and running their own business or having that knowledge, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me ask you something quickly, brother, because if Splash was actually able to make those direct introductions for you with some of the speakers and operators.
See, bro, you're going into the
value-
pitch now, but you're pitching nothing. Like you don't know anything about this guy, what he really wants to get out of this. You've only got guarded surface level answers that he's given you.
Yeah.
No,
I agree completely.
yeah, you're not pitching on anything.
What do you think you could bring to the table to make sure that those decision makers actually move forwards with you?
To be honest, to answer that, like I haven't been in the game for too long to be very like confident in like the other people that I might meet over there. But for example, like when it comes to a lot of startups, I feel like I have that like startup culture sort of vibe because I've worked for a lot of startups, and that includes like developing like the
Bro, this
product
is
side of
funny
it,
because
and
you
then
asked him a
obviously what
question,
I'm
right?
trying my
That should almost be like what you would ask at the end of a call, which is them trying to sell themselves to you. But obviously, because he knows you've got like barely any context as to what he's done, he's now jumping straight back into I statements, like what he's been doing, how he's been doing. This is what you should have found out in the discovery, because if you'd found out all about this in the discovery, he wouldn't be jumping to I statements when you built a lot of urgency and you're asking him, bro, like, why should you even be attending this event?
best to learn now is the advertising side of their marketing.
No, for sure. Having both of those is such a valuable skill. And I mean, look, exactly that's exactly the kind of person that Splash actually wants in the room as well. Like looking to
You're
learn
just
and
going off the
actually
script. Like, he hasn't even told you what he's going to bring. He's just told you what he's doing at the moment.
Yeah, I know.
take in
just-
what's being said at the event. And isn't there just to like grow their LinkedIn following or something like that. I'd love to hear that from you, man.
Yeah,
Just-
honestly.
Sure. So listen, one thing I've noticed from all of
Bro,
the
you should just start practicing probes. Like I do too. What about it do you feel like you do as well? Like literally just asking that. Get him to say it.
Yeah.
events personally is the thing that really separates people who gets the most out of it is actually like the level of access they have. So do you understand like the itinerary of the event, or would you like me to go through that in a bit more detail for you?
No, I can check that out on my own time. That's
Yeah, I've had it to just send them more
Sure,
information.
Yeah, like
innit?
everyone's going for like the first day, like the night mixer. But it's kind of the people who are in the right conversations on day 3.
How are you going about, let's say you did get a prospect that wants to close and like on, let's say the $500 ticket. How are you even going about closing him on a dial?
How am I going about closing him?
Yeah, as in like how are you even sending in payment links and like going about sort of logistical issues, like let's say saying, oh, I'm at the gas pump right now. What I think you should add on these dials here to build urgency is frame the call by, we have like a limited amount of tickets on sale at the moment, as we have got 95% capacity right now. So I'm just giving like a final dial to see if anyone still has any availability for XYZ date, blah, 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 blah. Frame it at the start so you can reference back to that at the end when he says, oh, well, actually right now I'm a bit busy. I'm like on my way to this event, or I'm on my way to doing this. Start the call by saying you have like 95% capacity and we're just dialing up the last few people that we think might get a lot of value from this event. Because then at the end, you can reference back to that.
If you've seen this yet, but on day 3, there's a Yup Casino night. And that's where like the real partnerships are made. And that's where like you can end up playing a game of poker sitting across from like Rowan Chef or Benny Bills. These guys are running 7-8 figure companies right now. And that's how relationships actually get built, brother. So yeah,
You're going off the script the whole
I
time.
do
It's
want
just
to
shit, isn't it?
be
Yeah, bro.
transparent.
Forget the script. Forget the scripts. To become the best dialer in the world, it's literally just this. How I'd reframe your entire call, because we're doing upsells, and I know very little about this offer, so you're gonna have to correct me where I'm going wrong. But I'd, first of all, tonality, frame yourself as an industry leader. You could even give context, so like, yeah, my name is Tony. I work closely with Splash. I do X, Y, and Z, and I'm here to call about this event, whatever the event's called. Framing yourself as an industry leader, telling him about how you're very close associated with Splash, how you're doing this and that. He's automatically like, okay, this is a guy worth listening to. The second way, the frame will be 95. I call this even maybe like an urgency frame at the beginning. Urgency frame. You're at 95 capacity right now, dialing the final few, I wouldn't go about saying prospects, few people that have shown genuine interest and seem like a valuable asset to the table. Something like that, right? Obviously it's off the dome, but something along that, so you can even just build that urgency right at the beginning for them to actually start listening to you. And now the biggest thing for you is going off script, is that there's, like we talked about yesterday, there are 2 components to a dial, right? 2 main components to a dial, 2 main components to the discovery in your dial. The discovery is simply the current situation and the desired situation. That's all it is, right? I'll call this in different things. I say past, current, blah, 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 desired situation, future situation, da, da, da. Current situation, all you're doing is pulling pain. So when he says something like, can you think of an example of something he said where you could have probed better?
In terms of struggling to scale.
Okay. Struggling to scale. This is like such an umbrella term, and you can spend 20 minutes speaking about this with him if you approach it right. Because struggling to scale can expand to so many things. It can expand to him not being aligned with sort of the people he's surrounded with. Therefore, it's a reason for him to actually get invested into this in-person event, so he can meet some like-minded founders. Struggling to scale can mean he's struggling with ROAS. Okay, well, XYZ person here is an industry professional at ROAS. There's a million ways he could be struggling, but the main problem for you here is just probing. So always start your probes, very easy. What do you mean by that? He'll say, let's say he said, struggling with ROAS, like last time. Just probing, just probing. Can you think of 3 probes, right, you could do for this?
3 different probes.
3 different probes.
The timeline, how long have you been struggling with ROAS for?
How long?
How long? What effect has that had on the business so far? How long? What effect? Struggling with ROAS.
What does that look like?
What does that look like?
Right? These are just free ones you could use. And you knew the first 2. So I don't get why you didn't even say them, because you're a good dialer. So I don't know why you didn't say those first 2. Bro, it's just a game of probing when you're selling upsells. Don't be shiny object syndrome for the script and just taking it off the checklist. You need to go off script when you're upselling people. Desired situation looks exactly like that. It's exactly the same thing. Let's say you ask him, bro, I don't remember his name. Let's say he was called John. John, let's say you and me went to the cinema and we're watching the John's Ecom 2.0 movie, right? What does that life actually look like for you? Who were like, bro, I don't know, it should be, being able to, whatever the pains he was saying here, so being able to fix my ROAS, fix my ROAS. If you were able to fix your ROAS, what would that unlock for your business? Another pro. Oh, I'd be able to do X, Y, and Z. What would X, Y, and Z allow you to do in your personal life? I'd be able to travel around more, attend more events, blah, 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 blah. You see, this you can dig and dig and dig and dig, and they'll just end up convincing themselves. Like you're working way too hard here. Like you got to get them to convince
Yeah.
themselves as to why they attend. It's very, very
Yeah.
simple, bro. When you break it down, it's simply just current situation, desired situation, and probing questions. You can literally have on your desk, I bet in 10 minutes, you can think of 20 different ways to say, what do you mean? How long? What effect? What does that look like? You can literally have them at your desk and just like scan it when he says something, okay, yeah, that's a good one to say, boom. And then say the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And by the end, you'll get to the bedrock and he'll be sort of, if it was in the current situation, he'll in his head really think, fuck yeah, my econ store's going nowhere. I've been really fucked by this. Like this isn't great. And then when you start going to the desired situation, you're going to be sort of talking about how great his life, or he will be talking about how great his life will be, how great it'll be when I fix this, how amazing my life will look like when I do fix this. And logically in his head, with the right frame, right? And the frame should go beyond this, obviously talking a bit more about like what the event actually is just at the beginning and how it can pertain to him by asking him questions like we said at the beginning. What is your business? Pulling on what his business is, talking about some of the names. It should be abundantly obvious to him that the fix for that is whatever you're selling him on or upselling him on, which is this event. And I would say you want to have a bias of like connecting with people. I would say in the current situation discovery, in the desired situation discovery, you want to have an endpoint with your probes for networking and connection, because that's going to be the biggest thing he's going to learn. Because obviously he can literally just search up some of these names that are attending and look at their YouTube videos. But he won't be able to actually in person talk to them, ask in person their questions, be in person with like-minded people. So always try and get that networking aspect when you're upselling in person events.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing? When you're pulling on pain, right? And at the end, you're pitching, because you framed, let's say pitch, because you framed it as 95% capacity at the beginning, and you can keep referring to that. You can keep referring to that throughout the call as well to make sure it's still pertinent on his mind. You can also go about using the timeline you've done here, which is how long. Where was it? How long? You can use this how long here, and if he says like 4 months, you can hit him with a cost of inaction. So you can reference facts. So you mentioned that you've been struggling with this for 4 months, bro. He said, yeah. I mean, logically, right now we've sort of been drawing at the same gun for the last 4 months, and nothing's actually worked. Would you be okay looking back at New Year's or 6 months down the line and still being in the same situation? No. How would that feel, knowing that you had the opportunity to actually be able to network with like-minded people, actually be able to be exposed to this knowledge for whatever he's trying to fix, and having denied that opportunity? Yeah, not great. So what do you feel like you need to do today in order to actually get started in fixing XYZ problem? I need to attend this event. And then you can pitch. And I'd also say before the pitch, you want to do a vehicle tie down.
Yeah. So do you see how this event can actually help you in terms of scaling and building that network?
Do you see how X can help you with Y problem? Yes. What specifically about it? And I'd also, because obviously it's an in-person event, I'd do a vehicle tie down on like the connections you have. So if I think about that for a moment, what could that be? What do you think a good vehicle tie down could be to like the networking or the connections? Maybe, and do you see the value that you'll get from being exposed to all these like-minded business owners in positions that you want to be in? Yes. What about
So,
that
yeah,
do you
I
think
mean,
will help you? Boom. That's a vehicle tie down. And then the pitch is so easy, bro. The pitch becomes logical, because if he gives you any sort of objections, and remember, this is like a mini closing call. You're upselling, so this is a high skill, a high leverage skill. The objections become so logical because you can just keep referencing to the ammunition you gathered in the discovery. So if he hits you with like, oh, right now's not the right time, I need to call you back because I'm doing da da da, we'll say, yeah, but at the moment, like I mentioned, and you will have kept referencing it throughout the call, we're at 95% capacity. And to me, from what you said, you seem like really valuable assets. So it'd be a shame for you to miss out on this. What about what you're doing now won't give you the ability to actually book in with us at the moment? Oh, I don't know. It's da da da. Are you willing to let da 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 stop you from being able to fix X, Y, Z? So fix your ROAS and live this life that he's talking about in desired situation. Oh no, yeah, no, that would be silly for me to let me just having to go and get the shopping stop me from achieving my goals and dreams. The objection handling becomes so easy. And remember, you're not selling to uneducated, poor prospects. So this isn't something that they're going to have to like sit there and think, fuck, 500 quid, that's coming on my account. What am I going to do? I'm going to be able to feed the family. You're not in that situation. So for him, you just got to build enough urgency so they get trigger happy.